All right, I'm Tim Kalinowski, joined by Brett McMurphy. This is the BBOC. Well, this is Brett's bowl projections, but this is through the lens of the BBOC podcasts, videos, all presented by BetMGM. And Brett, it's great to have you here. Great to bring your tremendous weekly bowl projections to life here in a video format. So I guess you can't really bury the lead. You have a new team in your championship or your semifinal of the college football playoff here. Tell me what we're looking at.
Yeah, right now I'm projecting, Georgia obviously remaining as a 1 seed, playing Florida State is the 4 seed in the Sugar Bowl. And then I've got Michigan as the 2 seed, but I've got Washington now with their win over Oregon. I've got them up to a 3 seed. I think Michigan and Washington at the end of the year, I think their strength of schedule will give them a slight edge over Florida State. So that's why I have them at 2 and 3 and Florida State at number 4. But specifically as far as Michigan, right now I'm projecting them to play Georgia in the national title game. Hopefully that's not the kiss of death, Wolverine fans. But starting this week, we're going to find out a lot about the Big Ten, the pecking order of the Big Ten. Penn State plays at Ohio State, and then 3 weeks later, Penn State and Michigan play. And then obviously at the end of November, we've got Michigan and Ohio State. All season, I've been projecting all 3 Big Ten teams to either be in the playoff or be in the New Year's Six bowls. I don't expect that to change unless one of the 3 go 0-2 in that kind of round robin scrum. But even if that happens, I still think all 3 will remain in a New Year's Six bowl or in the college football playoff.
Yeah, and I don't think that's quite what all those fans want to hear, is at least we'll be in a New Year's Six. I think they have a bigger aspirations. I just want you to, outline how we get here and why your poll and your weekly ballot is different than these are bowl projections. These are where you expect us to end up. I think that's important for viewers to kind of understand. And that's why you have, Michigan going further than, hey, this is my weekly poll. You have Michigan number 5 in your ballot, right?
Yeah, so my AP ballot is basically how I rank the teams for what they've accomplished up to this point. It is not a projection on how they will finish the year. Simply, it is a snapshot of what has occurred so far in this college football season. So yeah, you're right. Michigan's not in my top 2 right now, but I do have them top 2 in my bowl projections. My bowl projections is a look ahead to how I see the end of the season and how these teams will finish up. So that's why there is some disparity there. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing, although a lot of people will suggest I don't know what I'm doing, but it is basically, they're 2 different factors. So one is a snapshot right now, who are the best teams in the country. The other is how I project this thing to play out at the end of the year.
Gotcha. So you touched on it a little bit, but I'm interested in Orange Bowl, college football playoff, implications for Penn State, Ohio State this weekend. Penn State currently a 4.5-point dog at Ohio State.
Well, with the 3 Big Ten teams positioned in the top 10, the Orange Bowl is kind of in a unique situation. It pits, on one side, the highest ranked ACC team not in the playoff. So if Florida State goes to the playoff, as I think they will, then they get the next highest ranked ACC team. That looks like it would be North Carolina. The opponent, though, that gets tricky. The opponent is the highest ranked team from either the SEC, the Big Ten, or the Notre Dame, the Notre Dame, I guess. Right now, I think that's going to be one of those 3 Big Ten teams. If so, it gets even more complicated. What that means is the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa, formerly known as the Outback Bowl, may it rest in peace, they can choose an ACC team instead of a Big Ten team. So if you're still with me in this scenario, by the way, this is my dream scenario of all my bowl projections. The ReliaQuest Bowl takes Notre Dame, which counts as an ACC team, and pits them against an SEC team. That would be LSU. Yes, Tim, you've got it. LSU and Brian Kelly against Kelly's former Notre Dame team. I'm hoping and praying for this every night. We'll see if it happens. But for it to have any chance of happening, a Big Ten team has to go to the Orange Bowl.
Gotcha. Okay, that I like where we ended up in the possible Brian Kelly Bowl. That's all I care about. I am going to hope and pray for that as well. We all deserve that as college football fans, and we all deserve to see another team bowling and even getting more love because you have a new team in your bowl projections, and it's not just because they're undefeated; it's because of more rules.
Yeah, look, for the first time this year, I've got James Madison in my bowl projections. And for people that aren't familiar with James Madison, they are in their second year transitioning from the FCS to the FBS. Well, there's this little rule that the NCAA has that says when you're transitioning from FCS to FBS, you are not bowl eligible unless there are not enough 6-win teams to fill up all 41 bowl games. So if there are not enough 6-win teams to fill up all 41 bowl games, then a team making the transition, if it has 6 wins, is then considered bowl eligible. Well, the good news for the Dukes is right now I'm projecting we will not have enough 6-win teams, and so James Madison will go bowling. Right now I'm projecting them in the Gasparilla Bowl against Memphis, but quite honestly, they could end up anywhere. Heck, they could end up 12-0. And then obviously they would be more attractive. But again, even if they're 12-0, they still need there not to be enough 6-win teams. So for James Madison, you've got enough wins. Now you've got to hope that everybody else beats each other up and these teams don't get to 6 wins. And if so, the Dukes would go bowling. They deserve it. But yeah, Tim, they could actually go 12-0, be the nation's only unranked team, and they would not be eligible for the college football playoff. They would not be eligible for a New Year's Six game. They would have to hope there are enough slots not filled to get a non-New Year's Six bowl game.
So I'll ask you this, and maybe it all comes out in the wash because of the rules, but if there aren't enough 6-win teams, James Madison qualifies. Would they just get slotted in like the lowest spot, or can some of these teams or some of these bowl game hosts say, well, we want that team in here, like let's bump them up a couple slots? Is that on the table?
Yeah, they're not really slotted, Tim. There's basically every bowl has a tie-in to a specific conference. And so if the conference has enough teams that are bowl eligible, they must take a team from that conference. However, there is some horse trading that goes on. But there are about a dozen bowls that will basically have the option to take from various conferences. So certainly if there are not enough teams to fill all of these bowl games, then bowls will position to find the best team available to fill those bowls. But yeah, we're not talking about a New Year's Six game or a New Year's Day game or anything like that. We're talking about some of the lower bowls. A lot of those are owned by ESPN. So ESPN does a lot of that horse trading. So it's not necessarily it would automatically be slotted into a Sun Belt Bowl or a Conference USA Bowl or an American Bowl. It would simply be where are the openings. And then obviously, look, if they're 12-0, 11-1, the bowl guru, Clint Overby, by the way, who works at ESPN, he will want to pair that up with the best possible matchup they could get to make for the best TV. So the more wins they have, the more attractive they will be. But again, they've just got to hope that there's a spot out there open for them.
Yeah, comes down to rules, unfortunately. All these, it's just a web that's weaved. And before we get out of here, Brett, I got to ask you, because you had a great take on the BBOC pod last Monday. You told us that USC was a paper tiger. They get blown out by Notre Dame. This is a projection, so you've kind of seen this coming for a couple weeks. You've had USC basically in the same spot for weeks straight, correct?
Yeah, I've dropped them out of the New Year's Six bowls for the past 2 weeks or so. Right now I've got them in the Alamo Bowl, which gets the highest pick from the Pac-12 after the playoff and New Year's Six bowls are taken. Look, USC may end up 8-4, but still 8-4 USC over 10-2. Any other team in the Pac-12 is going to get the first pick from the Alamo Bowl because of obviously their TV value and Caleb Williams. But yeah, Tim, I don't see any pathway that they can get up into a New Year's Six bowl, especially with that defense. I think what we called, Saturday, Stuckey didn't like it. I called it USC for their University of Swiss cheese defense. But actually the defense wasn't the issue against Notre Dame. There were a lot of other things. But yeah, I don't see them in a New Year's Six bowl this year.
Fair enough. And so I wrote down some of your biggest risers and fallers here. UNC jumps from the Pop-Tarts Bowl to a New York Six. What a jump that is. Louisville, they fall out of a New Year's Six Bowl to the Gator Bowl. Maybe not what's more impactful, but what are the two catches your eye more? I mean, poor Louisville. It's disappointing. They had a real shot, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, they were undefeated. They had the win against Notre Dame, so they looked like they were legit. But then they ran into Pat Narduzzi with 2 weeks preparation and didn't work out. North Carolina, very, very impressive. They could go undefeated and meet undefeated Florida State in the ACC title game. They don't play each other, and so North Carolina could go undefeated and meet Florida State in the ACC title game because they don't play each other. And yeah, they've been very impressive. They haven't had that tough of a schedule, but certainly they've won the games that they've played. And we'll have to see if they can continue that. But right now, they look certainly a significant margin above of Louisville and anybody else in the ACC, with the exception of Florida State.
Yeah, that defense has come a long way as well. Looking forward to next week, Brett. Besides one of the biggest one of Penn State, Ohio State on paper, I know these projections are hot off the press, but is there a matchup you're eyeing or a team you're eyeing this weekend that might have a lot on the table?
Yeah, I guess the two biggest games that could impact the bowls and obviously the national title picture, Alabama and Tennessee. Alabama has to win out to have a chance to get to the college football playoff. A loss by Alabama will eliminate them from not only the college football playoff, but could impact them actually getting to a New Year's Six game. And then we've talked about the ACC earlier. Duke and Florida State. Florida State has to run the table. I don't think they can afford a loss to get in the college football playoff. And Duke, coulda, shoulda, woulda, should be undefeated. So that's a game that could impact, Florida State's national title hopes.
It's going to be a great weekend of college football, Brett. I'm excited to, I love doing all the rehashing, but it's just week after week after week. So make sure you read Brett McMurphy's bowl projections on all the Action Network platforms. Brett, thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to talking to you tonight on the BBOC podcast presented by BetMGM. Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, Tim.